For all that was wondering, oh my God. From Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Oh my. Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder says that he definitely won the Tyson Fury first fight that should have been awarded. He should have been awarded a knockout. And he also talks about his future without stating the obvious. He says guys that are at the top of the division that he haven't fought, like Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua. We're going to talk about all that and more in this video. Holla.
Without naming the obvious, you know what I mean? People obviously know, but I would love to fight guys that I haven't fought. The ones at the top that I haven't fought, haven't got my hands on. That's what I want. You know what I'm saying? And I know that's kind of lame a little bit to not name a name, but anyone that I ain't faced that's at the top, I'm talking about you.
He said AJ and Ruiz, Andy Ruiz or AJ, right?
Yeah. I'm saying any fighter that's at the top and people haven't seen me fight, and people strongly want to see me fight. That's who I want to fight, because I can sit here and name names all day. You feel? That's the easy part, but I'm just gonna go to the top. When you go to the top and there's some that I ain't fought, that's who I want to fight. I mean, I want to clean the division out. You know what I'm saying? Period. You know what I'm saying?
Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TUBEBUDDY. I've used TUBEBUDDY for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TUBEBUDDY is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TUBEBUDDY and level up your channel faster. We work. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Let's get to it. So Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, he did an interview, and I think, without going too much into detail, I think Deontay Wilder has had an awakening in lieu of, his first professional loss with Tyson Fury and everything that has unfolded. He's seen people, like, in essence, kind of double cross him and go work with the ops. And he's seen with some of the media people, they've turned their back on him, and, they had slanderous things or just different takes or whatever. So I think he's going to learn from this, everything, just take it all in and learn from it. And he did an interview with Marcus Watson. He did an Instagram live interview, and I think from here on out, I can't speak for Deontay Wilder. He's a grown man, but I think he's going to be a lot more meticulous in the selection of who he gives his time to. And I've said this before. I think Deontay Wilder, he's real. He's a real person. He's a real dude, and he didn't let the fame change him. But with that realness, it's a gift and a curse, because you're being too real and you keeping it real and giving everybody the same love and your time and stuff like that, but not everybody deserves your time. Not everybody deserves for you to even treat them with the utmost respect and things like that. And I think that is something that Deontay Wilder probably has been forced to learn from. He gave people interviews and made himself available, and these are the same people doing nonstop interviews with the UK and, just different things like that, trying to throw dirt on his name when he's quote unquote down after a loss. So in this interview, he says, quote, "The ones at the top who I haven't fought, who I haven't got my hands on, that's what I want. I want to clean out the division." So this would mean guys like Andy Ruiz, guys like Adam Kaunacki, just anyone who he hasn't already fought. And I like this. I think this is a good approach. Wilder, see, there's a lot, and I'm going to try to stay on task on this particular video, but Wilder, he looks to be in good spirits. He looks like the same Wilder. He looked clean cut. His mind seemed sharp. He didn't seem like when he was quiet and silent, you have media people saying he was depressed and he hasn't recovered from the loss. But this was just a regular interview. He seemed like he had his wits and his mind about him, you know? So I don't even understand where those sentiments and statements were even coming from, especially if you hadn't, like, some of the same. Just listen to what people say, including me. You know, you could throw me in that bunch because I know what I say then and now. But you have media people who said Wilder refused to do interviews with them or, you know, didn't get back to him. But then they also went out and said that Wilder was depressed. So where did you get this information from if you haven't even talked to the man, right? Now, you guys seen the title of the video regarding the first Tyson Fury fight. Wilder says, quote, "I won that fight hands down. The ref gave him more time. He felt like it would be the right thing to do. I definitely knocked him out." And he's referring to the 12th round with Fury. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder with what he just said. First of all, there's multiple ways you can, like, diagnose this. I did a Boxingego watch party where we rescored I just watched the first half of the fight. And what I noticed is Tyson Fury was not really, I'm talking about the very first fight, right? The one that Wilder referenced. In the first fight, Tyson Fury was moving his head and feinting and posturing and hands behind his back and doing all these like histrionics and theatrics more than he was actually throwing punches that were effective and or landing or hurting Deontay Wilder. So if you look at it, Wilder actually dictated the pace, and I had him winning much of the first half of the fight. Like, if you really go watch and score, there was rounds where he outlanded Fury. He was landing the harder shots. He had a good body attack. His jab was there, right? And Tyson Fury, again, wasn't really even doing much. So that alone changes the dynamic. You had people on Twitter, because I was at that fight, and I remember I was watching the fight live, and I just randomly, in between rounds or whatever, I looked at my Twitter feed, and I seen people, and some people were saying 8 rounds to Fury, 8-0 to Fury. And in the first 7-8 rounds, they gave every single round to Fury. And I'm like, wait, are we watching the same fight? And then, you know, the fight unfolded out as it may and all that. And I was just wondering how people were giving Tyson Fury the first 6, 7, 8 rounds, things like that. Because if you really watch it, just don't take my word for it. The full fight, PBC put it up on their YouTube. Go watch it again and really score it from a non-biased, objective perspective and palette. Go score the fight again and tell me that Fury was doing something big in the first 6, 7 rounds. I thought Wilder was landing the blows were better. He hurt Fury, you know, and that's in itself its own argument, right? Because depending on how many rounds you give Wilder early, you could say he should have won on the scorecards, if we're really being honest. Because he already had 2 knockdown rounds. That's 2 10-8 rounds. So if you gave Wilder 3-4 rounds from the beginning, that means he would have won the fight on the scorecards instead of a draw. But Wilder's point, he didn't even make the point. That's a separate point that I'm making. Ego. I said this. The point that Wilder's making is the ref gave him more time. And that's accurate because you look at Tyson Fury, bro, he was laid. He was laid out. Tyson Fury has an interview with Max Kellerman, ESPN, and he says out of his own mouth, he admits that he was unconscious for seconds, like he was unconscious. So when in the history of boxing do you see a man snoring and unconscious, eyes open or eyes closed? Because different people, like when Amir Khan got knocked out by Canelo, his eyes were open, but he was clearly out. You don't even usually administer a count. You would just look at him, see the condition of that person, and say, why would you count to a man? They say sleep is the closest to death, like actually, because your body, your heart rate, you know, changes and stuff like that. So that's the closest to having no heartbeat, you know, as opposed to having an active heart rate, walking around or exercising or anything like that. So if you see a man snoring and sneezing, you probably wouldn't even need to count, because why would you be counting to an unconscious man? In addition, there's people who also believe the count was like delayed and you gave him time. You're like watching him get up and you're like, hey, 8, 9. You're supposed to just do the count. And if he could fully be up and ready to go and, you know, shake off the cobwebs, then the fight continues. And we've seen Fury. Here's a quick story. I was at that fight in the Staples Center. I covered it as media, you know, so I got to watch it for free. Shout out to, you know, PBC and all that for that. But there's this guy, he was obviously picking Fury, and he maybe thought Fury was doing well enough to win the fight. That 12th round came and Wilder knocked him out. The man, he was in the media section with me. You could tell he was clearly disgusted because he believed too, just like everyone else, that the fight was over, and he threw his pen on the desk. And I won't forget that. And then he made this face like a huge sigh, like, like you had it close. Like he thought Fury had the fight in the bag. And then obviously that knockdown happened, and he was, you know, everyone knows Wilder for his power. So he was so distraught and discouraged. You could see the look on his face that he didn't want that to happen. So don't front now, you know, and act like, oh, you big Dawsa and all this stuff if you believe that the fight was over, because everybody thought the fight was over because it should have been over, period. You know, Kenny Bayless didn't give Amir Khan an opportunity. He didn't count. He just looked at the condition of the fighter, said, nah, it wouldn't even be safe for you to continue. You know, same thing with the Kenny Bayless in the fight with Juan Manuel Marquez and Pacquiao when Pacquiao got knocked out. Bro, it wouldn't be advisable that would even happen. Luckily for Fury, I guess you could say it worked out where he got up and he was able to throw punches and fight off the fighter instinct or whatever, but you could easily argue that the fight should have been over. So that's the latest. Let me know what you guys think. Wilder had done this interview. I thought it was a pretty good watch. I haven't watched all of it, but the parts that I seen, you know, just regular Wilder. And he said, aside from stating the obvious, so I believe he has a gag order, and he probably can't say too much regarding Tyson Fury, but he said outside of the obvious, so I'm assuming he's pretty much saying, you know, if the Tyson Fury fight doesn't happen for whatever reason, then, you know, I just want to fight a top guy that I haven't fought yet. So respects to that. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.